And here we are. Welcome, everybody, to the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel. It is me, the new managing editor of Wrestling Inc., Nick Hausman, and we are here in the wee hours of a Sunday night to talk all things New Japan Pro Wrestling with you. A little bit of Ring of Honor and some WWE as well. But first, let me introduce my guests, my co-hosts, my fellow pundits here for this evening. First of all, I've got Jesse Collings here. Jesse, say hello to everybody.
Hey, what's going on, Chris?
No, I'm Nick. I'm Nick.
Chris.
No, but now you kind of you took my intro from me because now I'm going to say his name. Joining us right now to the box on the other side of him is our good friend Chris Featherstone. Chris, good to talk to you again. It's been a while since we've got to chat.
Yes, Nick, it has been a while. Before we get started, I want to give a special shout out to the best college football team in the world, the Ohio State Buckeyes. To all of my Buckeye fans, OH.
There it is. For all you Ohio fans out there. And for all you Chicagoans, and you're from Boston, Jesse, right? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just everybody. Welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in. Share the link out. Share some love. Hit us up over on Twitter, on Facebook. But let's get into it here tonight. We got a lot to talk about. It's been a busy weekend for professional wrestling. I'm going to kick it to you first, Jesse. We're going to talk Ring of Honor here for just a second before we get into New Japan Pro Wrestling. Ring of Honor on Friday night had Death Before Dishonor. What were a couple big takeaways you had from the show on Friday night?
Well, I don't think it was a particularly big newsworthy show. I would say the biggest thing was the main event that was between Will Osprey and Jay Lethal. And I thought that was a really good match, even though it was random. And, you know, Will Ospreay's not with the company. He's kind of a freelancer at this point. He's signs with New Japan. So you knew he wasn't going to win the title. But I thought it was a really good match, and I thought it was interesting how Will Ospreay wrestled. It wasn't the typical Will Ospreay match. Like tonight, we kind of saw the typical Will Ospreay match, and it was awesome. And there was a lot of high flying and all the flips and all that kind of stuff. And this was a more traditional match. And I think one of the things we're seeing is he's focusing more on a more durable, traditional style, with the hopes of eventually maybe becoming a heavyweight and working in the heavyweight division in New Japan, which would be a big boost for him, and he's certainly capable of doing it. And I think that's one of the main takeaways I had. The other one was the push of Jeff Cobb. He just started in Ring of Honor, and I think they're bringing him in and giving him the monster push. It's can I do a spoiler? He won the TV title.
Yeah, sure.
Well, we saw it on Unleashed. Yeah.
Yeah.
He won the television title during the tapings the next night, so he's gonna be a big push in Ring of Honor. I think that's important because I think a lot of the guys at the top are guys like Jay Lethal and Christopher Daniels and Osprey, who they brought in, kind of guys that have been around for a while. And Cobb's a new face in Ring of Honor. He's been on a name on the independent scene for a few years, and I think they really need more new guys because it's tough for them. I think what people forget about Ring of Honor is just how many guys they've lost. They've been raided by WWE. I mean, look at WWE the last few years. They've signed Kevin Owens, former Ring of Honor World Champion, Sami Zayn, huge star there as El Generico, Roderick Strong, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly. The list goes on. And Punisher Martinez is a mid-carder in Ring of Honor, and it looks like he's headed to WWE as well.
Yeah, so I saw that. Meltzer said that.
Bringing in a guy like Jeff Cobb and giving him a big push and having him look dominant and look scary is something that they really need to do, and they really need guys that they can count on to anchor the main events when the guys from Bullet Club aren't there.
Yeah, no, that's I think you're 100% right about that. And Ring of Honor, you know, that's been something I've heard come up over the past couple of years. Is just, you know, the dependence on the Bullet Club name of Ring of Honor, because Ring of Honor doesn't own Bullet Club, right? New Japan Pro Wrestling owns Bullet Club. So I think it is, like you're saying, Jesse, very important for them to be finding things to invest in, make their own right now. You couldn't have a better free agent than Jeff Cobb. I mean, you know, it was mentioned tonight on the New Japan card, or New Japan show that we'll talk about here in a second. You know, this has been a big month for Jeff Cobb. You know, before this, even winning the Battle of Los Angeles, which is like a huge thing for any wrestler. I mean, he's the center of attention right now, just on the bubble, not in that NXT kind of WWE mix, but I agree. It was a great night for him. And one more thing before we move on to Fighting Spirit Unleashed here and talk about New Japan. I do want to put over the Sumi Sakai versus Tennille Dashwood match. I was at Supercard of Honor WrestleMania weekend, and that felt to me like it should have been the finals. Tennille lost in like a pre-show match that night and wasn't even like included in the finals at all for that title. So I thought it was great to see those two finally get in there and show the world what the Women of Honor division can really be capable of, because I thought that was just a really good bout that they had.
Yeah, I think the Women of Honor division's been kind of tough, I think, getting it off the ground. It's hard to do it when there aren't a ton of big names you can bring in to help kind of solidify it. So you have to kind of build from the ground up. Sumi Sakai's a veteran that's been on the indies for a while. Tenille Dashwood people know as Emma in WWE, so she's kind of a name kind of person you can bring in and people will know. But it's tough because unfortunately, women's wrestling on the independent scene isn't followed as closely as men's wrestling. So you don't have like kind of like a Jeff Cobb kind of like person that people know that you can bring in and get over. And I think that's kind of tough. So I think they're sticking with it. I think they've had some better matches.
Yeah.
And time will tell how successful they are. But I do think it's a challenge because, again, anyone good that they come up with, WWE is going to be ready to snatch them up because WWE loves signing depth to their NXT.
You make it sound so combative there. I don't know for sure for gospel that that's the case there, where it's like a constant raid on Ring of Honor. It's interesting because you look at WWE right now, you know, through that lens, and we'll maybe kind of wrap up the ROH discussion here, move to New Japan. But there's such a glut right now at WWE of talent, just everything, right?
Doesn't matter. The more talent, the better.
Yeah, but you got guys there that aren't getting the love. They're not shining.
Well, if
not getting the attention as if they weren't. You know, I feel like in an environment where there was just this glut. I don't know where maximum capacity gets to a point for a wrestling company, but I think WWE might be getting pretty close right now.
Well, yeah, you take a guy like here's a guy, perfect candidate, Donovan Dijak, right? A guy that was coming up through Ring of Honor. He came up on the New England Independents, came up with the Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor, you know, put him in the top prospect tournament, kind of had him building him up. WWE finds out about him. He leaves Ring of Honor. He does like the 2 or 3 month tour with Evolve and then goes to WWE. How many Christopher Dijak matches, which I think is what the name he's going by, how many those matches have we seen since he went to WWE? How many have been on NXT television? Not a whole lot. So they do have that talent. And eventually those guys will want to leave because they're not getting to wrestle on television, and they'll maybe come back to Ring of Honor, and it's kind of a push and a pull kind of thing. But I think it's tough for them. I mean, Leo Rush is a good example. Leo Rush was someone that they found on the Maryland Independents. They put him in the top prospect tournament. They give him a push. He's kind of starting to get over in Ring of Honor, and then boom, WWE's on him like that. He goes to Evolve for a few months, and then bam, he's in WWE. And Ring of Honor really didn't get anything out of him, even though they invested the time to put him on a stage like that. And it's hard for them to keep building forward unless they have guys like the Young Bucks and Cody coming in and really anchoring those big shows, because despite all the talent losses, their business is better than ever. Their live attendance is up big time. More people are aware of it.
It's an interesting time for Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling, which we'll now get to. I mean, because they're a viable second easily at this point. You know, the production value has gotten there. There's a lot to like. There's a lot of talent, a lot of characters. Maybe you know Cody Rhodes, or you knew the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, so there's a little hook there for you. I agree. The Hot Topic stuff with the Bucks and Bullet Club hasn't hurt. It's just a very interesting time for pro wrestling. And it sets the stage great here for the show we're going to dive deep into here tonight. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in again. Feel free to share this out. I'm here with Jesse and Chris. It's time to chat Fighting Spirit Unleashed. Oh, man, I really wish I had like cool sound effects. Like, let's talk New Japan Pro Wrestling. I really had a great time with this show. I thought it was a lot of fun. We're going to go match by match here. Of course, the show started off with ACH, Taguchi, and Jushin Thunder Liger taking on Roppongi 3K. Since I threw it to Jesse here for Ring of Honor, I'm going to throw it to you, Chris. What'd you think of this opener here?
Good opener. Good 6-man to open the show with the juniors. You know, it's always good to see Liger in a match, and it's funny because I was kind of taking notes of just all the errors from both JR and Kevin Kelly, although they're two really good play-by-play guys, but they really didn't compliment each other too much because there wasn't really a color analyst. There were just two play-by-plays, and I did notice that. Kevin Kelly said that Jushin Thunder Liger debuted in '87, and then in ROH when he lost against Kenny King a couple days before, they said he debuted in '84. So it was I noticed that was pretty interesting. But yeah, overall, just the match quality was good, and it's always good to have the juniors open for the show. And I think I really don't see what this leads to, because it doesn't seem like it leads to anything, but they usually have the juniors open the show just to have like a feel good moment to get everybody ready. And so I think I think for that purpose, it did what it was supposed to.
And for me, I think this match, at least for me, was to see how ACH kind of fits with these guys, fits in this environment. He's the new guy there. I mean, did you think that he enhanced the energy of that match?
Well, he was Tiger Mask Black, or Tiger. What was the other? He was what was it? Tiger Mask Black or something like that. For a while. So he's been in New Japan for occasions. So,
sure.
But as far as integrating himself officially in the junior division, I think he'll be a really good fit.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah. Any thoughts here, Jesse, on this opening bout?
It's a typical New Japan opening match. There was a good energy. The crowd loves Liger. The crowd really got into Taguchi and his hip attacks, so that's good. It's what you want to see in a regular match. I did notice the announcing thing where they said that they're coming up on 30 years of Liger. I think that's a reference to that. The Liger character has been around for 30 years and debuted, I think, in 87 or 88. But Keiji Yamada, the guy who plays Jushin Thunder Liger, debuted in 84. So they're not just confused themselves on that. But yeah, it was a good match, and it's good to see ACH. I think ACH is really talented. Hasn't really stuck in a company yet, so hopefully we'll get to see more of him in New Japan. I know he was part of the Best of the Super Juniors earlier this year and did good, so it was a fine opening match.
Now, here's the thing. I want to talk about the announcing real quick, because you guys both seem to, and I guess I didn't dislike the announcing. I thought it was actually better announcing tonight, better commentary than we've gotten on some New Japan shows recently. And my take on it was, well, first, you said something, Chris, I thought was interesting, that they were both play-by-play guys. There was no color. I kind of felt like JR was playing color tonight, or trying to walk that line.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I think you're right about that. But at the same time, Kevin Kelly's just so knowledgeable and so readily, he's got such a brain for all the names, the stats and stuff. I think it sets Jim Ross a little at ease in that environment where, he's been calling one company for decades, to kind of be in here to have somebody like Kevin Kelly. Where I don't know, I think he seemed a little bit more relaxed. He didn't seem as I hate to say edgy. I think Jim Ross has had a couple edgy New Japan shows where he seemed visibly or audibly upset. I didn't think we got any of that tonight. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when he compliments Josh Barnett, Josh Barnett's a decent color guy. But I think that Kevin Kelly did put him at ease, but it just felt weird, JR being a color guy or trying to be, a color analyst. And then the thing is, he would do the JR isms, and he would really get into the Stone Cold type of things for a split, 3 or 4 seconds. And then it'll be like he realizes, oh, wait a minute, I need to comment on what Kevin Kelly does instead of just go right into my play-by-play type thing. So there was some headbutting there a bit, but it was kind of odd to me, to be honest with you. But and that's tough coming from me, because I think JR's the best ever as far as play-by-play is concerned. But it was kind of tough to see him in that role.
And before we get to this next match too, I wanted to also touch on the crowd, which is something you brought up, Jesse. This crowd, it was weird because it looked kind of sparse to me, and I think that had a lot to do with the yellow bleachers and stuff and the way that they caught the light. But they were loud. They seemed really engaged. They were a big part of making this show a lot of fun tonight, I thought.
Yeah, well, they did not draw well, to my understanding. I think they only did about half the building.
I heard 70 to 80%. And I
don't know what the walk-up was, because they could have done good walk-up and good day of sales, but I think they did last number I had heard was 2,000. So we can get into that maybe later, talking about the promotion of the event and coming back to Long Beach and coming back so soon after All In and the show in San Francisco. I thought that one of the things I don't think they did was I don't think they moved the crowd over to the hard camera side, which is usually what you see promotions do. WWE does it, Ring of Honor does it, everyone does it. When you don't have a full crowd, you move everyone over to the hard camera so it looks like a full crowd. I actually thought at one point when they showed the section to the right of where you would see the hard camera, that section was pretty much filled up, but the hard camera section had those yellow bleachers, as you saw. But the crowd was loud, and that's good because the miking was really good. One of the knocks on Ring of Honor shows is that the crowd miking is very bad, and that it sounds like the crowd isn't making any noise at all. But when you get the crowd making noise, and they were hot for most of the night for this, and not just the main event, you know, during the undercard, they were hot too. So that really helps the show flow really well and feel important when the crowd's really getting into the matches.
I had the same thought. I was like, can't you just corral people? You got the camera right there. You know, those yellow bleachers, those lines they stacked up. Anyway, opening bout, ACH, Taguchi, and Liger picked up the win. And onward we went. I liked how there was very little breathing in between these matches. It was almost just boom, 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 back to back.
The show flow is great, the exception of the intermission, which we might want to get into later. But I thought it really helps when you guys, you're not even doing video package. You're just like, this match is over and this match is on. And it feels like you're flying right through the show. Even though the show's 4.5 hours long, it feels great when you don't have like a 15-minute break between each match.
Yeah. So right here, we get to it. The Addictions, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian taking on Chase Owens and Hangman Page from Bullet Club. Hangman Page has obviously been on a tear. Chase Owens kind of I hate to say like the Bullet Club runt, right? He always kind of seems to be the
drop
one.
Guy.
Right?
Yeah. That's what his role is. That's, you know, that's good for him that he can fly to Japan work in Japan on a regular basis and get a role in the Bullet Club. You know, everyone needs a job guy. Chaos has Yoshihashi, and they have Yano, I guess, too. And, you know, Bullet Club has Chase Owens.
Well, I mean, I thought this was maybe the best Chase Owens match I'd seen. I enjoyed this one.
Good talent.
I thought it was great. He you know, he got actual heat in the match, you know, going after the fans and stuff. The fans wanted to play with him. And Kazarian and Daniels, they're just, I mean, they're in their own world right now. They're going out there and putting up great matches every time. Chris, what'd you think of this tag bout?
Oh, good match. I'm a big fan of Chris Daniels, buddies with him, and I think just the Addiction is, you know, is a great team. They weren't able to beat the Young Bucks a couple of days before that, but you know, it's good to have they had some redemption against you know, Chase Owens and Hangman Page to end the weekend with the win, you know, in California. So it made sense, and it's interesting that the Addiction, being one of the biggest heel teams, you know, in the past year, you know, Scorpio Sky comes in, SCU forms, and now, you know, they got all the crowd chanting SCU. So Owens and Page, you know, it just seems like they weren't going to win because they're on the lower end of the Bullet Club. Although I think Hangman Page is grossly underrated.
I agree with you, man. You said that. And I was like, I don't know about lower end, man. Hangman Page, him and Joey Ryan stuff is some of my favorite stuff in wrestling right now.
Yeah, but he's still one of the lower end people in the Bullet Club echelon, though. I mean, unfortunately, because I think that he should have a singles. I mean, he's had, I think, the trios championship,
right.
But he's never had a singles title. Close to the TV title for ROH, but never won it. So I definitely think he's just way underrated and sometimes improperly utilized. I know that he had a big win against Jay Briscoe not too far back, but I really wish that they would use him better as a singles competitor because I think he has a really good character, and just having a tag team match with Chase Owens really didn't help him much.
Yeah, and that's the thing is maybe they're right now waiting to give Hangman Page that opening. You know, we're going to get to the U.S. title picture here in just a moment. You know, obviously, Jay White being a villain, being a bad guy, you don't want to. It's harder to find, you know, villains to put up against him. You don't want to necessarily do that. But it's a different landscape now, and I'm with you. I think Hangman Page and that as a singles champion would be great. Ring of Honor or New Japan. Of course, the Addiction here picked up the win with the best moonsault ever, pile driver combo, Night of 1,000 Tombstones. That was a thought I had taken away.
Best Meltzer ever is what it's called.
Oh, the best Meltzer ever. My bad. Yeah. Jesse, anything else you want to say on this match before we move on to the sixth man here?
It was a good match. I think I'm really impressed by Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, just their career in totality, how they're survivors. They keep coming up with good stuff. They're both, I think Kazarian's over 40. Daniels, I know, is well over 40. They're still really good in the ring. And this SCU thing, I mean, it just hit they know how to get stuff over, and they know how to stay relevant. And I think I'm really impressed with their careers. Are really impressive, despite not really being a major stars in any promotions.
Yeah, and I think that's more true of Kaz than Chris, because Chris actually got to hold the Ring of Honor World Championship. I mean, he's been looked at in that light, because Arian never really has kind of been given that kind of a shot. But yeah, both really putting on some great matches every night. I wouldn't be surprised if either of them broke away and came up with that underdog story one more time. Who knows? Let's get some 6-man tag match action going on here. Flip Gordon, Chris Sabin, and Jeff Cobb, new Ring of Honor TV champion. He brought the title to the ring with him, taking on the Best Friends and Hiroki Goto. Yeah, we were just talking about Jeff Cobb here. I feel like this was another match where it was just like, let's find a way to make Jeff Cobb look awesome here. I thought he was great in this bout.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Cobb. I think I really liked him when he was Matanza and Lucha Underground. I think I've seen him compete live when I was doing coverage in New Orleans this year, Mania weekend. Man, he's impressive to see in the ring. I love seeing him, and I'm all for a rapid, kind of meteoric push for him in ROH. I think it was cool. I think his match against Goto, as we saw at the end of the match, they still have some animosity from their match for the Never title that Cobb wasn't able to win. But yeah, I mean, I think that the match was good. It was good to see Sabin, because I actually interviewed Sabin this week, and he said he wanted to get more New Japan appearances. And it was good to see him, from a personal standpoint, have that New Japan appearance after his ROH. He wasn't able to beat Punishment Martinez. So yeah, I think just the match as a whole, it was a good match, and I love seeing Beretta and Chucky T together. It's to me, I'm a traditionalist. I love characters, and just the fact that they can put a hug over, as being one of the biggest points of the match. I'm a big fan of that.
Who didn't? Everybody's going nuts for those hugs.
Yeah,
it was great.
Over.
Oh, yep. I agree with you. I have to say, Flip Gordon as well in this match. Man, he's I hate to say getting better every match. He's just getting more bendy every match. The way this guy manages to move around that ring. I put up a pretty innocent tweet, I thought, that was just like, man, isn't Flip Gordon fun to watch? And I was surprised there were like a couple tweets responding to me there. People are like, this isn't wrestling, right? I don't know. I'm surprised we still kind of get that hate for matches like this, because I thought this was a really fun blend of styles we got here on that team. Chill out, everybody, I guess is what I'm saying, right?
With Cobb, I think a universal truth in wrestling is that people will always love watching a big guy toss people around. It's going to get over every time, and he's very good at that. So this was kind of a showcase for him. I love Chuck Taylor, Dustin, Chucky T, whatever you want to call him. I think he just cracks me up. I think when he was going to give Jeff Cobb a suplex and he just screamed, "I'm going to kill this guy for real," it just puts a smile on my face every time. He's got such a weird charisma about him. I think he's one of the really talented entertainers we have on the indie scene. Yeah,
I agree. Of course, it would be Jeff here to pick up the victory with the Tour of the Islands, 1, 2, 3. But afterwards, we got the tease of Goto and Cobb going at each other. I think that's these are two really big, powerful men. As far as an introductory feud for Jeff Cobb to the New Japan faithful, I think Goto would be a great first feud for him. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, well, they feuded before when Jeff was kind of. I mean, just a few months back they had their match for the Never title, but I think now, since Jeff is the television champion, which is funny because it just kills the spoilers of the TV tapings because it hasn't even been aired yet on ROH, but he comes out with the television championship. But yeah, I definitely think it'll be a good match, a good rematch, because Goto took the first one, and I definitely think him and Cobb would make a good match again, because it's kind of like, for those who follow New Japan, it's kind of like that continuation, so to speak, of their feud, which they went against each other. I forgot what it was. Was it the July show?
I think it was shown in San Francisco with the Cow Palace. Yeah.
July. Yeah, G1 special, right? And the one in July. Yeah.
Right.
So they went against each other then. So that's just 3 months ago. So Yeah, I think it'll be a good match, just like the first one.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's cool. You brought up the Ring of Honor, like spoilers and stuff. I don't know. Ring of Honor is really kind of screwy with their timelines because the TV stuff really matches up with the pay-per-views. So I wish they would do something about that. I've heard people there talk about how they wish they would. It's I don't know. You see this, you're like, doesn't even matter. They don't care.
I mean, sometimes it can go 4 to 6 weeks out before the tapings actually air. So,
it's tough, man. I feel like it's in this, we're talking Ring of Honor here for a moment. It's a bummer for me because I want Ring of Honor to have a really successful weekly television product that can help support their storylines and build their fan base and stuff. But largely what their show is right now is like an infomercial for Ring of Honor because it doesn't always necessarily match up or like build to things. You get good action and stuff and you get maybe a little intro to characters, but more often than not doesn't actually lead into big events like this one here. All right. Let's talk a little L.I.J. Naito, Evil, Sonata taking on Killer Elite Squad and Zack Sabre Jr. From Suzuki-Gun. This was, man, yeah. First of all, I'm just a big Davey Boy Smith Jr. fan. He's a big, scary, fun man. Him and yeah. So
and Archer.
Yeah, him and Archer. Very scary man. What'd you guys we'll throw to you first, Jesse. What'd you think of this bout?
Good match. I thought Davey Boy Smith Jr. looked really good. He's such a good he's such a good talent. He's so big, but he's so technically sound as well. He went into, he's like 6'5", 270. He's doing bridges and stuff and submission holds. So I think he's really impressive when he does that kind of stuff. Zach's obviously really impressive. I like the finish with him just basically out wrestling Evil. Was it? Yeah, he was Evil. He got the submission on, and basically the announcing, I think, did a good job getting that over. It's like, look, Evil's a lot bigger than him, but Zach out-wrestled him, and he's technically superior, and this is why this is important. And I think that helps sell the product more, is that the commentary's job is to put the guys over and make them look like stars. And Zack Sabre Jr., who's not the most physically intimidating guy, when you're putting him over like that, I think it's something that really benefits him. I thought it was a good match, and the finish was what made sense for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I think it was good too. I mean, made sense for Suzuki-Gun. One of the best, true heel factions in New Japan right now, which I'm all about true faces and true heels. I think they do a fantastic job. I'm actually friends with Lance Archer. I texted him right after the show for any thoughts on, his show, and he texted back, like I always say, everybody dies. That was exactly his quotes. So, yeah, I'm all about. Although I'm a big fan of the faces, I'm buddies with Lance, and so it's always good to see the Killer Elite Squad gain a victory on behalf of Suzuki-Gun. Sabre Jr., man, he's really assimilating in that heel role with his Suzuki-Gun, and I think he's doing a fantastic job at it.
He's such a great addition to that group because, you've got, like we said, the two big monsters there. And then you bring a guy like Zack Sabre Jr. in, who can get at you from so many different angles and things like that. Yeah. I agree. And, they're such a good foil to L.I.J, I feel, because, with a group like L.I.J that is just so visibly terrifying and things like that, how do you find monsters to go up against them? And I think that's exactly what happened here tonight. Even kind of seeing emotion from Evil after the bout. He took the loss really personally and stuff. I just thought they told a really good story here. And I think, again, the crowd being so into it really added to what was going on here. Everybody was rolling on all cylinders at this point in the show, really throughout.
I'm glad that he didn't turn, because it seems like usually those moments right after where it's just like the heavy emotion and one person's on their knees and one person standing up above them. It's usually the Shinsuke Nakamura, AJ Styles, WrestleMania's low blow. And I was hoping that didn't happen, because it seemed like there was possibly Evil versus Jericho, because they've had some beef both on Twitter and at Dominion when Jericho attacked Naito and the Evil came and got the save. So I want to see a match between Evil and Jericho before we see Evil and Naito again. So I'm glad that he didn't turn. I don't know what they're doing and building us up as far as just, because the commentary did say that he's had consecutive losses against Sabre. Right. So maybe he had that big win against Sabre, which makes him a bigger opponent for Jericho, which makes sense to me. So if it foils out that way, I'm cool with it.
Yeah. Chris or Jesse, anything else you want to add to that?
No, I just thought it was a good match. I liked what Chris said about at the end, Sabre kind of leaning into that heel role. I thought there was really good heat at the end. I think he got the pin by giving two middle fingers to the crowd. I thought that was great. I think they're a good heel faction, and they are good. They're good foil to L.I.J. because L.I.J's kind of gimmick is that they're relaxed and nothing really bothers them, as opposed to Suzuki-Gun is a bunch of psychopaths, particularly Minoru Suzuki, the leader, and that every loss is followed by beating up the young boys, or in this case, they won and they still beat up the young boys. So I think they are a good foil for them. You need to have these, if you're going to have all these groups, they might as well be fighting with each other.
It's an excellent point you made there. The energy wise, the two teams there. And I'm glad they're not doing the breakup too, because it's like you got stuff with Chaos. Bullet Club is in like a never ending perpetual civil war. You know, it's good to just have, you know, that dark group of monsters, you know, laid back, very chill, laid back monsters that are there. Then we headed over. By the way, yes, Zack Sabre Jr., as we said, Killer Elite Squad picked up the win after the match. Killer Elite Squad beat up some of the Young Lions. There were some body slams. And this is again where Evil looked really bothered. Moving on to Tanahashi and Kushida taking on Jay White and Gado. This is, of course, this was like a continuation here for Jay White and Gado from what had just happened. What did you guys think of the chemistry here between Gado and Jay White? I'll throw it to you first, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, man, I saw the turn at the event a couple weeks back, and it was obvious because what I heard some things as far as Gado going away from Okada because Okada was doing the face roll, and you know, it got to the point where he didn't need a manager anymore. But I mean, kudos to Gado, man. I think you know, he's one of the best, probably arguably the best booker, you know, in all of professional wrestling right now. He's really doing some fantastic jobs there for New Japan. And I think that it makes a really good manager for this Jay White project. I think it's because honestly, to me, I think Jay White by himself just was lacking an intangible, because I remember at the beginning of the year, New Year's Dash, when he was, I believe it was New Year's Dash, when he turned again, well, he attacked Omega. Omega wanted him to join the Bullet Club, and then you know, he double crossed him, and then he beat Omega for the US championship. But even with the push that New Japan was giving him, I think that there was still a bit of intangible. I think him as a heel works really well, especially the whole him and Josh Barnett thing, which seemed like a shoot back at
it felt very scary in that moment when it went down.
It did. But I still think that there was a slight intangible about Jay White. However, now with Gado, I think it works well. I think he gets the heat that he needs, and he has that manager that's a mouthpiece for him, especially in Japan.
Jesse, what do you think? Do you think Jay White needed a manager like Gado here?
I don't know if he needs a manager, but Gado does give him purpose. It gives him sets up the big rivalry with Okada. When Jay White first joined Chaos, he made it very clear. I think he even said in a promo, he said, "I'm going to turn on Okada one day." Like, he said it right up there. So everyone knew that this was coming, and that he was kind of a reluctant member of Chaos, and he was only there because it served him some form of political purpose for him to be there. Sure. So we all knew he was going to turn on Okada one day. We didn't know Gado was, and that's what made the turn so well, was that everyone knew Jay White was going to attack Okada. It was just a matter of when, not if. And
I like the case thing. I like the case thing they're doing too.
Yeah,
that's really good.
And Gado was like, you know, in New Japan and Japanese wrestling, you don't have all these, you know, turns and these guys stabbing each other in the back as much as you see in WWE. So it's rarer. So it's much more important when it happens, particularly when you consider just the unbelievable amount of success that Gado and Okada have had. Really, Gado and Okada are the best manager-wrestler tandem of the last 10, 15 years. You could say Lesnar and Heyman.
I was about to say, bold statement, right?
But seriously, look at where New Japan was business-wise before Gado and Okada teamed up.
Sure.
And before that whole thing took off. they have done so much together. So it's not just your, run of the mill. It's time for these guys to split up. It's a serious turn, and it gives Jay White a lot of purpose now, because I think he's gotten this big push. And like Chris said, he's kind of lacked these intangibles, and you never really know what to think of him. But this gives him a huge feud to really elevate himself, and it's not against just anyone. It's against Okada, who's the top star in the entire company. So I think he did great tonight. I loved his promo at the end. I loved everything about it. I liked the finish, even though it was a dirty finish. I think he came across as a bigger heel. And as Chris said, you like defined heels and baby faces. Well, it's hard to get a bunch of like hardcore fans that are traveling to a New Japan show to boo a heel, because usually like to cheer the heels, but he was getting a lot of heat from that crowd. He did an excellent job tonight. I'm really impressed what they've done with him with this turn.
Yeah, I don't know that he needed, like you said, I don't think he needed the manager. I do think it's a great observation about how many things it opens up from a storyline perspective for Jay White, because I think he really is a great character. I don't know if it's an intangible. I don't know if he's missing something so much as if he hasn't been given the right storylines to help elevate him. Because I think as far as being a wrestler goes, you really couldn't ask for a more well-rounded guy right now. Good look, great in-ring style, very good on the microphone. After the match here, picked up the win, by the way, as Jesse mentioned. It was a dirty finish where Gado had some brass knuckles. He smacked Tanahashi while he was on the top rope. And then Jay White hit the Blade Runner cover and ended to a chorus of boos. So after match here, Jay White gets on the microphone. He holds up Tanahashi's Tokyo Dome briefcase, and the crowd boos him a whole bunch. First of all, the FU Switchblade, and I edited that. Do you think that turns off Access TV from wanting to live air New Japan content when they see something like that go down?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I think you should have had, I think you should have had those speaking of Switchblade, I think you should have had those people in front of the switch pushing some type of edit button when they had that, because I was thinking about that and I was like, man, the big pull right now for the States is to have a partnership with Access. I mean, they've had the Access usually airs the New Japan shows usually right after it comes on live. But I think, man, if you really want to get some sponsors, I know that Harold Mates kind of implemented, kind of like a restriction as far as like people using profanity in their interviews. But we didn't see it tonight in the matches. We saw a bunch of middle fingers and a bunch of flip-flopping and flying in the mouth, so to speak, when it comes to profanity. So I think probably Harold will look at this and say, okay, of course you can't stop what the fans say, and you want to draw that heat, but at the same time, you might want to have some people in front of the switch and kind of work on editing that from the show.
I don't know. And I think it's a tone thing. And I don't think the fact it was streaming online, it's fine. You don't need to edit it. It's just, I don't know, as far as a TV thing goes. I don't know. Just a different tone. Very different. Anyway, Jay White says he's beaten Tanahashi again. What is New Japan waiting for? What is Tanahashi waiting for? Jay White says they're scared, and New Japan Pro Wrestling doesn't want their beloved Tanahashi not in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom. First of all, like, painting the guy like John Cena, right? It kind of felt like a WWE promo right there, where he was putting him up on that Cena pedestal.
Well, Tanahashi's kind of been like the John Cena of New Japan, though. Like he's like the ace. He's multi-time. Before Okada broke his records, the 12 title defenses and things like that. So if you want to compare, New Japan to WWE, I would say that Tanahashi would be the John Cena of New Japan.
Yeah. And then he mentions if especially the fan or New Japan wouldn't like it if it was two foreigners in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom, insinuating it would be him and Kenny Omega. And then he taunts Tanahashi a bit more, and then he bounces. So, yeah, Jesse, I'll throw it to you. This seems to be the kind of thing you're talking about here, where you're talking about more interesting storylines. Jay White here with Tanahashi, somehow looking to throw the Wrestle Kingdom main event into some kind of flux, right?
Well, Jay White beat Okada, and he beat Tanahashi the first two nights in the G1. He didn't go on to win the G1, but it shows you how intricate that booking is that this was done, that he beat Okada and he beat Tanahashi with the purpose of setting something up later down the year, and this is that. It's going to be White and Tanahashi. at the show, King of Pro Wrestling,
Right.
later this month, and this continues to give him purpose. And I think Jay White's not main eventing the Tokyo Dome. I think that's pretty clear. So I think Tanahashi's going to win. I think maybe it could be due to interference, even though they don't really do interference finishes in Japan. But I think it will be something like that. And I think, yeah, it gives him more purpose. He's got a big match going up with Tanahashi, and it means something because he's been beating down Tanahashi. And, you had this whole segment tonight. So, again, it's giving him more purpose.
And then we go to intermission. Now, Jesse brought this up in the beginning. What was a 3.5-hour show probably would have been a 3-hour show had they removed this intermission. Is this more tradition? Is this so they can sell T-shirts? What is the point of these intermissions? I think they're very weird.
So they're done in Japan regularly. Okay. Almost every major show will have some form of intermission. It's about 15 minutes. And sometimes on the New Japan shows, they'll do what they did tonight, which is just leave a camera at the empty ring and you go do your thing and you come back when it comes on. And sometimes they'll do like more traditional, like we'll have promos and video packages and that kind of stuff. I think definitely tonight, I don't think they should have done intermission at all, but maybe they want to give the fans a chance to get something to drink and not miss any of the action and get them, keep them hot for the entire night. But for me as a viewer, it's terrible. You're in the middle of something and then it's just not on for 15 minutes. And they didn't do any video packages. They should have showed, they do so many great promos they upload on their YouTube channel. Just show some of those. You got the big title matches coming up. You should have done all of those. And that would have been at least something to watch instead of just this blank screen. I know I was working at the time, so like I didn't like go like make a sandwich, something like that. I just sat there and watched, and it's terrible. You're ready to keep watching wrestling. You don't want it to be pressed pause for you.
Yeah. Chris, do you have any thoughts on the intermission? Anything? No? You good?
I didn't think it was that bad, honestly. I've seen the intermission before, New Japan stuff. It's tradition. It's different. It worked for me because I was simultaneously working on my PhD dissertation as I'm watching the show. So I had time to really focus on my dissertation during that time. So, and it's funny because I was actually helping my middle child with his homework at that time too, because I said no. And then my wife needed some help with we have 3 kids, and so it all worked out for me. I helped my middle child do his homework and was working my dissertation. So more intermissions, please.
As most wrestling fans working on their doctoral work.
Yeah, I have a less interesting life than Chris, so I just sat here like a potato and watched the intermission.
Yeah,
there you
go. I made stew. We made stew. I ate stew.
Nice.
So the intermission's done. My favorite part of every New Japan intermission is just listening to Jim Ross be like, all right, well, I guess we're doing this now. And then just putting
I was hoping he would say something really funny, like when he thought he was off air and you could still hear him.
I thought that. I was waiting for it too. He's like, the hell's going on over here?
I hate this show so far.
Jay White, what a dick. What a dick Jay White is.
I hate Jay White. Somebody go get him.
That's where you hear him just slowly. You hear the jingle jangle of the ice cubes in his Moscow Mule, right? That's what it is. We move on to Will Osprey versus Marty Scurll. IWGP Junior Heavyweight title tournament semifinal. Crowd still white hot. They were way into this match. Battle of the entrance ring jackets. Wonderful jackets from both men. What were your big takeaways from this one, Jesse?
This was my favorite match on the show. I thought this was one of the best matches I've seen all year in any company. I've seen these guys wrestle a lot before. They have tremendous chemistry together. Osprey, I watch a ton of wrestling. Osprey is the guy that when I watch, sometimes I'd be like, wait, how did he do that? Or wait, what did he just do? He's so athletic. He moves so well. Everything's so fluid. And Scurll is the perfect opponent because he's not nearly as athletic, but he's so technically great. And he's so good at getting in his counters and tying up Osprey and how he gets the chicken wing on him. It's just perfect. It's really like, name any 2 guys that worked wonderful. You know, it really reminded me of Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, which I know is very high praise. But honestly, you watch how fluid these guys are together. It's unbelievable. This was a tremendous match. I think Scurll winning the match is a sign that Osprey might not be long for the junior heavyweight division since he's not going to be in the title picture right now. It was a great match. It's must see. Go out and watch it if you didn't see it live.
Did you get hit the same way by this one, Chris? Did it knock your socks off?
Maybe one sock.
Okay.
But not two. It was good. I think it was a really good match. Bell to bell. Yeah, I wasn't like awed by it, probably because I've seen so many Scurll and Osprey matches that my bar is set higher.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at too. I was like, this is really good, but it's not like new,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how I felt. And I think, let's be clear, the match was really good, but my bar is probably higher with Osprey and Scurll matches. Made sense as well because Scurll goes to the finals against Kushida. Makes perfect sense for them to be the two that makes it to the finals, two of the best juniors, and Kushida's a legend in the junior division, so everything made sense.
Yeah, there you go. Then we moved on to the match that I was the most excited about going into this one. The Young Bucks defending their IWGP Tag Team Championships against the Guerrillas of Destiny. There was a great promo they played just before this match that I thought set the stage really well, kind of explaining quickly the civil war that's going on, the firing squad and the Bullet Club elite factions. It made this match feel really important, and I loved the fact that the Guerrillas of Destiny picked up the win, because I think it just opens up the door for better storytelling. You got the Bucks coming back. I'm glad that this civil war is playing out in a fun, cool way and is not becoming boring. I don't know if that resonates with you. I'll throw it back to you, Chris.
Yeah, I'm a big fan that God won it. I think that they're one of the best heel tag teams in pro wrestling right now. I think Tama Tonga is, he's a staple heel in New Japan. It's like, man, I wish that he is higher in echelon as far as singles heels. He had some, he's been in the G1 and had some mild success, before, but at the same time, he's really a tag team guy as far as what we've seen over the past few years. And so and so it made sense for them to win it because of the turn at the G1 and the fact that they kind of get the retribution to ultimately, it seems like probably either I don't think King of Pro Wrestling I think that'd be too short. So say probably 3 months from now, which will be Wrestle Kingdom, the Bucks will probably pick it back up after all this toil. And so yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I kind of wish that we see different tag teams right now in the heavyweight division, as far as just contenders are concerned. I mean, of course, we had Evil and Sonata. We had Archer and Davey Jr. kind of like a year ago, but we don't really see a lot of new teams kind of being implemented in the heavyweight division. Now we have Roppongi 3K in the junior division this year, but I kind of wish we had more heavyweight teams.
Yeah, Jesse, how about you? Think the right choice was made here, putting the belts on God?
I think they had to win because they really need to win and establish themselves as legitimate threats to whoever they're facing. And if you want to give them a big push, they got to win their first kind of major match against these guys. It was probably the best match I've ever seen the Guerrillas of Destiny have. I thought it was really good. I thought they worked well as a team. They did a ton of different moves. It worked really well. I liked the video package because it kind of established like both sides of the argument. You have the Guerrillas of Destiny, which are like, look, I'm tired of all this infighting. These guys all hate each other. It's total drama. It's stupid, and I hate it. And they're valid. There was a lot of drama and infighting. You have the Young Bucks on the argument side. It's like, look, we've made the Bullet Club bigger than ever. We're making all this money. If you don't like it, we'll boo-hoo. And you saw that in the live crowd where some people were supporting the Young Bucks and some people were supporting Guerrillas of Destiny, which I thought was pretty impressive considering how popular the Young Bucks are and how this event was held basically in their backyard in Southern California. So I thought all of that played really well into what was a very good match. And Chris is right. They have too few tag teams in New Japan in the heavyweight division. It's the same teams over and over again. And even if those matches are good, it's still, you know, the same 4 or 5 teams, and there's a lot of talent out there that they can go get. There's only, I think it's weird. I think there's really only one Japanese heavyweight tag team, and that's Evil and Sonata. Everything else is mostly foreigners. And you have Tenkoji with Tenzin and Kojima, which is technically, but we haven't seen them team together. I think Kojima's out injured anyway. But it's just, bottom line is I agree. I think they need to have more teams.
Yeah, real fun match. I love watching King Haku presiding as well. I'm a big Haku fan. I think he adds a great X factor. And I'm with you, Jesse. I think it's really cool they've been able to keep that momentum behind these different factions. I think they've made it fun for wrestling fans. And
the Goozle, the tongue and death grip. You see this?
I see it. I had to take a moment. I was just going to let it sit there. You know, I was like, I think they've just done a really good job of keeping this fun for the fans and keeping everybody strong too, right? If the Bucks had won tonight after the God had just done the turn, it would have killed some momentum here. This was the perfect way to keep everybody rolling, and I just thought it was great. Then we'll get to the IWGP United States Championship match here. Juice Robinson defended against Cody, and I was like kind of shocked that Juice lost. Was that surprising to either of you?
I wasn't a fan of it, actually. I think that you're pushing Juice as a really good baby face right now, and I think you want to keep that momentum on Juice. I think it makes no sense at all to make Cody a dual champion. I mean, I know that NWA is a different entity from New Japan, but they work in conjunction a lot together. So it doesn't make, especially since NWA titles are defended at Wrestle Kingdom. Rob Conway just defended a few years back, and so I don't like that. I don't see the point of that. I think that you keep building Juice's momentum as a babyface, which it took him a while to even get to this point, and you keep Cody as the NWA champion, and Cody feuds with someone and defends it in Wrestle Kingdom, and then you have Juice feud against someone and defend it in Wrestle Kingdom. I don't see the point of having Cody be NWA champ and US champ for the sake of taking away some momentum from Juice that you built up to get this far. It just didn't make sense to me.
How about you, Jesse? Were you taken aback by this, or was this something you agreed with?
Really neither. I think they have big plans for Cody, so I wasn't super surprised to see him win the championship. I get the argument of Juice has built that momentum up, and you would like to keep that by having him have the title, but maybe he'll get more momentum by chasing the title that he lost.
Yeah,
it's possible. Juice kind of got over as kind of like I don't want to say like a lovable loser, but kind of as an underdog that was always chasing things and wasn't never in like a real position of power. So it's possible that this could be beneficial to Juice down the line. I see it more as though that they've just got big plans for Cody, and they want Cody on their shows. And Cody has said in the past he's going to be dedicating more time to working in New Japan full time. So I don't see it as a huge negative for them. I just think it's just something that they wanted to do.
And there's been a lot of rumors about, when contracts for certain people are coming up and stuff like that. And I'm sure having a title on Cody only does things to put him, in their pocket a little bit more, I would think. I don't know. But yeah, I was just surprised, man, on every level. I was with you guys, with you, Chris, where it was like Juice has been, organically building himself up. He's winning this crowd over. He's finding his voice. He's finding his character. Big wins over guys like Cody are where this guy needs right now. Cody's going to be Cody, right? Brandy could have done something. He slips on a banana peel, whatever, right? You move on. But a win over Cody does a lot more for Juice. I hope you're right, Jesse, that the chase of getting this title back is worth it, because my gut tonight said, ugh, this is the first time full show,
Yeah, I just wish that if he lost the time, I'm okay with losing it to a really good heel to win it back at a bigger event to gain even more momentum. But Cody's been flip-flopping between face and heel so much over the past 6 months that I just don't think that he's the guy. You know, he was a heel, and then he reunited with Kenny Omega at the G1, and then he's been feuding with Juice as more of a heel role. Then he's the face at All In, and then he's the heel when he wins, and then at the end of the night he's more of a baby face when he does the triple threat match. And so I wish that they would have done something like Minoru Suzuki. You know what I mean? I think that he's probably one of the best true heels right now. I think if someone like a Suzuki defeated Juice Robinson and then he kind of gets his comeuppance at Wrestle Kingdom, I think that helps Juice. But just losing against Cody, who's not really a good enough complimentary heel to his baby face, I don't think it helps him as much as another person could have.
Yeah, well, time will tell. Definitely a wait and see on this one, how it plays out now that the title is off of Juice, which again upset me. Main event time: Ishii and Okada taking on Ibushi and Omega, the Golden Lovers, representing Bullet Club Elite. Man, you'd have thought Elvis was fighting Frank Sinatra here, the way the fans were reacting with Omega and Okada in the ring together. These guys have just as much energy as they've ever had. I'm a little surprised by that. Do you think this was a worthwhile main event for their return to Long Beach? I'll throw it to you, Jesse.
Well, that's a debatable question. I think if they had a bigger main event, like an IWGP Heavyweight Championship defense, it would have drawn a bigger crowd. Yeah. The thing about this wasn't really that big of a show for New Japan. They had some title defenses on it, but they didn't have the World Championship defended. It was almost all tag matches. This wasn't like a killer show that they were really trying to produce. And you can debate that hurt them. That hurt them with attendance for sure. It hurt them, this show, from a momentum standpoint, as far as like, it wasn't like they were coming back and giving us their A show. This was very much a Corcon Hall show that they would normally produce. And this was a tag match in the main event. It was an excellent match. They put more energy into it than they probably would for just kind of like a generic Corcon Hall show. But I have no problem. I can't say it wasn't a worthy main event because it was a great match and the crowd was really hot for it and all that stuff. So it checked all those boxes. But I do think they could have come with something stronger and had a bigger impact with these U.S. shows, because I think it's very clear that the fans really want to see, you know, Okada and Omega in the United States, or Okada and Tanahashi in the United States, or one of these big signature New Japan matches in the United States. And I think sooner rather than later, and they'll definitely do for the MSG show, they'll definitely have a killer main event, like one of the two matches they just said. But I think it's just they could have done something bigger for this particular show because it didn't have the momentum that previous New Japan shows in the US had.
Yeah, and you know what? I think you made a good point about there just being too many tag matches on the show. I feel like if maybe the undercard had more singles bouts, like maybe you could have done Goto Cobb, right? You could have just gotten right to it there. Then this tag match main event would have felt bigger. But the fact we saw so many tag matches on the show, I think that did take away from it a little bit. Chris, what did you think of the main event here?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think 7 out of 9 matches were tag.
Well, you had Scurll Osprey was the singles, Cody versus Juice singles.
And that was it.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Oh man, 2 matches.
But that's how New Japan books. They don't have singles match. Like if you watch even their biggest shows, unless it's a title match, they don't have singles matches. It's all tag matches. It's different than a lot of American companies, but that's how they do it. And they tell stories through, you know, they told the story of Jeff Cobb in Hiroki Goto through a tag match. They told, you know, the Juice Robinson Hiroshi Tanahashi thing through a tag match. It's just different. They don't do, you know, singles matches are supposed to be big and important and happen rarely and not just thrown together on a show. It's just different. And I agree that, you know, maybe if there were more singles matches, they are in the United States, it's a different audience. Maybe the crowd would have, you know, been different, but the crowd loved this show. So I can't really say like, oh, you know, if they had more singles matches, the crowd would have been hotter for it because the crowd was hot all night.
See, I think that the crowd would have loved the show anyways, because to say this isn't like a WWE show, you know, I mean, people buy WWE tickets just because it's a WWE show. You know what I mean? I think with this, it's a different type of animal because you already have a diehard crowd who's going to buy tickets knowing, you know, you don't have casuals when it comes to American-based New Japan product. You know what I mean? And if the casuals are very, very rare for a product like this. And so the expectation was already high and the crowd was already going to produce that type of reactions toward the match because of knowing the characters and knowing the wrestlers. And so I think it's a different animal. I think, like, for instance, Tai Chi, he's the never champion now. He beat Goto. And so I think, Tai Chi was nowhere in sight. I mean? So I think at least having some type of singles something else would have been better for the show instead of just packing all of this tag. And I agree with you, Jesse, as far as just an American crowd. However, it's a different animal. But I think if you want to bring in casuals, kind of like what they did at the G1 of 2017, having like Billy Gunn, go against, I believe, Tanahashi at the time, and having some older names or some more established names be a part of the show. I think that it seemed like they tried to do that last year, but not so much this year, maybe because they feel like they have a good product as a whole to bring to the States. I'm not quite sure, but I think you kind of have to bring those, elements in to draw a casual crowd, because you want casual fans to be a part of your product to get tickets anyways.
Well, and we'll talk the post-match here, but we will get back 1 second to the promotion of this, because, they've announced more American shows, I think, this year than like any other year, right?
Yeah.
This is like their big push. I'm wondering if they're thinking, do we have to do those kinds of super shows every time, or can we do a more, traditional show that we would do over in Japan, and will it draw the same? We don't really know exactly what all the experiments are that they're running right now. After the match, I'm sorry, Jesse, do you have something to say?
Well, I don't think they've run a super show in the United States yet. They will at the Madison Square Garden show, I'm sure. But I don't think we've gotten obviously we haven't gotten a Wrestle Kingdom level show in the United States, but none of the other big pay-per-views like Dominion or or King of Pro Wrestling or any of those level shows. Those level cards haven't been in the United States yet. I'd say we gotten more like the most recent shows. They had the Destruction in Kobe, the Destruction in Hiroshima. That I think we've gotten those kind of level shows with like 1 or 2 title matches, but nothing really major. I think we haven't seen that yet because those are saved for Japan. Those are big dates in Japan. So how much are you going to sacrifice your own strong domestic market for what is essentially experimental shows at this point in the United States?
Yeah, it is. It's like a weird chess game going on right now over on the West Coast. After the match, Okada helped Ishii to the back. Omega and Ibushi were celebrating in the ring. Adam Page, the Bucks, Marty Scurll, they head to the ring. They congratulate the Golden Lovers on their win. Omega says he's sorry about the Bucks dropping the titles tonight. Omega says he notices a few empty seats tonight, but he sees a lot of smiling faces out there. Omega notes there's another show in just over a week, and he calls up Ibushi. He says a few things to him in Japanese, and translating what he just said, from the back comes Cody. Omega offers up a title match to Ibushi. Cody hops in the ring and takes the mic. Cody says he wants to take the burden from them and ask the crowd if they want to see the match. Cody says, how about this? Ibushi versus Omega versus Cody. He hops out of the ring. Omega gets back on the mic. He says, you know what? That's a good idea. There's only been 1 triple match for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, so why not do something original? He says this is what he says that it's going to be Omega versus Ibushi versus Cody at King of Pro Wrestling on October 8th. And he signs off to the show. So kind of one vine to the other. Do you think this was an effective way to build interest for King of Pro Wrestling? I'll go right back to you, Jesse.
Well, it's very unexpected. New Japan does not do triple threat matches. It's funny. Kenny said there was only 1 in history. There's actually been 2. There was one a few years ago in Ring of Honor when AJ Styles was the champion. It was Styles versus Okada versus Michael Elgin. And there was one, I believe, back in 2005 between Brock Lesnar, Kazuyuki Fujita, and Masahiro Chono. And that was like a colossal disaster of a match. And apparently it was so bad that it kind of went away. We're never doing triple threat matches ever again. And Gado doesn't like to do triple threat matches, at least for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. So I did not expect this to be a triple threat match. Chris said earlier in the night that Cody's been playing heel, he's been playing face. I'm very confused what he's supposed to be in New Japan. If maybe it's different, he's a different person in Ring of Honor than he is in New Japan and all this stuff, because he was pretty much a heel. He was definitely a heel during the Juice Robinson match, and here it was a very heel move. Like, I'm just going to insert myself into the match, and then Kenny's like, yeah, sure, whatever, we'll make history. Right. And that was kind of awkward, but it also gets them out of having, eventually they can do Omega and Ibushi in a singles match for the IWGP Championship. And that still saves that big match for another one down the road. And now in, for the October show, they'll have a triple threat match, which will be very different. I'm sure it'll be much better than the one that happened back in 2005. And it's definitely interesting. It's definitely an interesting angle for the show to do the triple threat match, because especially fans in Japan, I don't think we're expecting it.
And my only complaint about it was I almost missed it, right? Like, the show is over. I walked in here, I started setting up for the live stream and everything, and I was like, oh, wait, I guess they're still doing stuff. And New Japan and Ring of Honor, they do this a lot. Like, they end the show with the promos and things like this. I don't know. I kind of wish they wouldn't do it. It just is more time. I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of it. Chris, did you like this little sign off here?
This is total tradition for New Japan. Okada's done it plenty of times. Actually, Gado usually does it with Okada for a number of years. But I'm okay with it, because I think I'm always fascinated when Omega speaks Japanese, and when he would do it, during the shows, especially when he won in Dominion. I think it was very impressive. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me, just because if it's a New Japan tradition, and it makes sense that they're setting up the triple threat too, because I definitely think you want to save that match between Omega and Ibushi. I actually thought that Ibushi was going to win the G1. Even before the G1 started, I had Ibushi winning and them doing the Golden Lovers at Wrestle Kingdom. But it seemed like they're doing a different route. They may do it at Dominion. They may stretch it out all the way to Dominion, which, would make Omega have the title for a year, which would make it a bigger thing for Ibushi. From what I heard, there's still some contractual things, like Ibushi is still kind of freelancing, as far as I remember. And so I think if they lock in maybe something with him, I mean, I'll be totally fine with Ibushi being champ and maybe winning a Dominion next year.
All right. And that brings us to the end of New Japan Fighting Spirit Unleashed. We got a couple news items here we're going to talk about real quick, and then we are going to wrap it up here for this evening. Actually, before we get to the news, we did put a pin in it. Briefly, let's touch upon the build from Access TV's and promotional-wise from New Japan's end. For this, Jesse, I know that you've got some opinions about this. I'll give you the floor here for a quick second to talk about why you don't think that this show clicked with an audience the way it maybe could have.
Well, I thought the show, from a quality standpoint, was very good. Once the show was on, it was great. It was very good to great. There were a lot of really good matches throughout the show. It flowed nicely, with the exception of the intermission. I thought that was all a success. But the promotion for the show was bad. They didn't announce a card until, I think, a week or so to go for the show.
Yeah, I didn't really know.
They are known. They don't do any local advertising in the Los Angeles area for these shows. They are coming back to the same place that they've only had shows in California, and they've had most of the shows in SoCal and Long Beach. I just think that moving forward, they're going to have to be more aggressive with their approach. I think they have to have bigger cards in the U.S., and I think they just got to do a better job promoting locally and getting people there. I mean, 2,000 fans is nice. It's a good crowd, or whatever. If you said 70%, then it's 30,000, 3,000 fans. That's great. But this was the same arena that they sold out in like 30 minutes or sold out in one day a few months earlier. So I think they're just coming back to the same places. I think for New Japan, their two goals should be, one should be to have a bigger show in the United States, which they're doing with the Madison Square Garden show. I'm sure that will be the big show with an IWGP Heavyweight Championship defense and all that stuff. But I think the next step is they have to get out of California, and they have to do, like, if I was them, my expansion strategy would be to go do like a 5 or 6 city tour along the East Coast where they haven't been. Run 2,000 or 3,000 seat arenas in like Toronto, Boston, New York, Philly, and DC, and just see how you do. Because I think that's the logical step for increasing their presence in the United States, is doing a real tour as opposed to doing these one-off shows in the same building in the same city.
All right. So yes, now on to the non-New Japan news. Over the weekend, WWE announced that Batista is going to be coming back for the SmackDown Live 1000th episode, October 16th. He's going to be doing a Evolution reunion. I don't really know what to make of this. Chris, what do you think is going to happen when Batista comes back to SmackDown and gets in the ring with the Evolution guys?
He's going to quit again like he did before. You know what would be cool to me? I was thinking about this a few days ago. I think, and this is just totally probably won't happen, but totally just kind of fantasy. But what would be cool was if they cut a promo, and then all of a sudden the Wyatt family come back and they stand on one side, and then the Shield come back and they stand on the other side, and they all just kind of and they do the the tease to get up on the rope on the apron like they did before. They both stand facing Evolution, and then you do a triple threat main event for the evening.
So you would put Hunter, Batista, and Orton as the team.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Flair's definitely not Flair. yeah. Because I think. Yeah, I don't know if Rowan's able to come back, but heck, you can throw Strowman in there. You know what I mean? Even if Rowan is still injured.
Yeah, for me, I feel like Orton's gonna lay somebody out. He's kind of got this edge to him right now. He's got a very stone cold personality. I feel like they're gonna like force him into the family photo, and then he's gonna beat up Dad. Kind of deal. Would be my guess. Chris, do you have any, or Jesse, do you have any expectations for the Evolution reunion?
My expectations are pretty low because we've seen these, shows, the Raw 25th anniversary, Raw 1000, all this stuff that happens with WWE's, these big shows. They get so many people on the show and they have guys come out for one segment, and that's pretty much it. So I wouldn't expect it. I'm not expecting an angle to come out of it. Batista has said he's willing to come back and do like one more program in WWE, and he said he really wants to do it against Triple H, so he could be setting that up. I don't know when they would have their big match. I don't know. It seemed like Batista would be more like a WrestleMania thing because that's a big match.
Yeah, he said Mania. I think he told JR Mania.
Yeah, honestly, I expect them to come out into the ring. They might do something like another group will interact with them. Maybe it's the Shield. Maybe it's the Wyatt family. I don't even know what Evolution's doing on SmackDown since they were a Raw faction. I know the guys individually were on SmackDown at different points in time. It just seems like they need to do a reunion, and they haven't done a Evolution reunion in a little while, so this is what they're doing. I don't really have high expectations for it. Maybe it does lead to a Batista Triple H feud. Maybe it leads to Randy Orton doing something, but I think it'll just be kind of like a segment that they do because they want to have as many big names on this Raw 1000 show as possible.
Man, Evolution Evolution is reforming just before Evolution, the event. It's like full on Darwinism right now on WWE. All right, lastly here, at WrestleVotes is a Twitter handle that has occasionally broken reliable stories. They're saying right now that it looks like Shawn Michaels could not just be coming back for this tag team match, it looks like, with Triple H versus Kane and Undertaker. What looks to probably take place at the WWE Crown Jewel event. But we could also be staring down a possible Shawn Michaels singles match return with the Undertaker. I don't know. I want to care about this. I really do. If it's me personally, I want Shawn Michaels coming back, working with a younger talent like a Tommaso Ciampa or something like that. That would be my preference. Jesse, since I went to Chris first last time, I'll go to you first this time on this story. What do you think about a possible Shawn Michaels return here?
Well, why hasn't Shawn Michaels come back yet? To wrestling, he's still in shape, he's capable of having a match. Why is he coming back in Saudi Arabia? And I think that's the question we have to ask ourselves and what that means for the future, because if he wasn't coming back because he wanted a lot of money and the Saudi Arabia show is giving him a lot of money, then that's one thing, then he'll come back. But if he wasn't coming back because he had his retirement match and he didn't want to have a match after his retirement match and he wanted to stay retired, then maybe once he has a Saudi Arabia match, that Band-Aid will come off and he'll be willing to have more than one, additional match. I think when he does come back, I agree with you that I would like to see him wrestle, AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan would be the big one since Shawn Michaels helped train him. But I also know how WWE books, and WWE want to have the biggest match possible. And even though us hardcore fans will be like, oh yeah, Daniel Bryan versus Shawn Michaels, the fact is if they're going to have a big WrestleMania style match, it's going to be against The Undertaker or it's going to be against Triple H and it's going to be against another legend, and they can build it like that because that's what they do. And, maybe Shawn will come back. They haven't, WWE, even without the Saudi Arabia deal, has enough money now that they can offer their, him as much money as possible. But maybe he's, because I think it's clear he's coming back to the Saudi Arabia show because of the money. He doesn't have any great love for this big, this feud, or this is really important for him to do a tag match with Triple H against The Undertaker and Kane. I think that, he's going to get a lot of money for it, and it's well worth his time to receive multi-millions of dollars for will end up being 20 minutes of work.
God bless. All right, Chris, I'll give you the final word here on the final topic. What do you think about a possible Shawn Michaels return?
All right, so fans of the Pancakes and Power Slam show know that they're big fans of my Vince McMahon impersonation. So I'm going to do it now, but I need you, Nick Hausman, to put back those Okada dollars, and I'm going to explain to you in the Vince McMahon impersonation why Shawn Michaels is coming back. All right, here we go. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. So there you go. That's the reason why Shawn Michaels is coming back to Crown Jewel. And as far as another match, I'm a big fan of what Shawn Michaels has said as far as just AJ Styles. He's like, listen, there's no rhyme or reason for me to do it. It makes no sense. It just puts AJ Styles over, or does it really put him over at the expense of my brand? And it makes perfect sense to me, because if AJ Styles just simply beats Shawn Michaels at the Royal Rumble, what does that really do? It doesn't really put AJ Styles over to some new level heights. It as much as it just hurts Shawn Michaels, like, oh, he just came back just to make, just to beat. I mean, he came back just to lose to AJ Styles in 6 months. It doesn't mean anything. So I'm a fan of Shawn Michaels when he says that, and I agree with WWE's booking. People coming back to put people over. That doesn't. I mean, look at Roman Reigns and the Undertaker. I mean, that's the Roman Reigns' biggest win of all time. Really passed the baton to Roman Reigns, and then weeks later he gets tipped over by an ambulance by Braun Strowman. Just totally, dampers the whole thing as far as just putting him over. They've done a very poor job really using wins to put people over. So I agree with it. If Shawn Michaels comes back for a singles match, I can see Survivor Series. I would prefer him and Taker at Mania, but just going against a Daniel Bryan or a newer talent, the way WWE really books people, it wouldn't mean anything.
All right, guys, we'll leave it there for tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Wrestling Inc. YouTube podcast, post New Japan Pro Wrestling, Fighting Spirit Unleashed, live cast celebration hour, and some change with us. It's been a blast here. As of 11 minutes ago, I am now officially the managing editor of Wrestling Inc. It's 10-1 now, my time. So I want to thank you, Chris and Jesse, both for helping me christen the boat with your champagne. I don't really know what that means, but I will throw it to you guys one more time each to let everybody know where they can follow you online. First, Chris, where would you like to send people to find you?
Pancakes and Power Slams every week. I believe we're at the 340th episode. I actually talked to Eric Bischoff on the phone today or yesterday, because it's now Sunday. It's Monday 10-1 Eastern to my time as well. So talked to him Sunday. We got a live Q&A for all those who follow the Pancakes and Power Slams on YouTube. Get your questions ready. We got Eric Bischoff scheduled for a live Q&A. So come on through.
There you go. And Jesse, where would you like to send people to find you online?
You can find me on Twitter. It's at Jesse Collings, JESSECOLLINGS. My column, Views from the Turnbuckle, comes out on Wrestling Inc. every Friday.
All right.
Oh, at Chris Prolific is my Twitter, at Chris Prolific.
There you go, guys. And I'm at Wink Rebel, WINC Rebel. Officially changed the Twitter handle over. And since I am joining Wink, I am going to be doing my own weekly show now for Wrestling Inc. on top of other managerial duties that are revealing themselves to me. Every Thursday now, you're going to be able to listen to what I am calling the Winkly. Get it? It's very funny. It's the Winkly. It's about an hour or so of me talking the top news of the week, mixed with interviews, talking to experts from the field. This Thursday, the first episode will feature an interview I just recorded with David Arquette. We have a great time chatting about many different things. I'm also going to be talking to Sports Illustrated's Justin Barrasso about All In. We're both there, sitting next to each other, and we talk about the news of the week. So tune into that. Support Wrestling Inc. Thank you very much. Enjoy your night, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.